Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of the Chelsea therapy session, because we need all of those. We need all of those, and I'm not sure if I'll ever stop calling it that this season, but, you know, hope is what dies last, I suppose. Pice has left. I'm sure his connection just broke down. He'll be back in a second. But, yeah, things are not great. We lost again. Obviously, we spoke about it on here after the game. We were not very happy. A lot of people losing their minds on Twitter and obviously all their respective channels and outlets. It's not great. It's not great. And there's a very weird and interesting, if you want to call it that, kind of narrative going around at the moment where it's like, is it that we cannot, is the only problem us failing to score goals and everything else is good? Because that seems to be the notion of a lot of people, including Pochettino. And I'm not 100% sure whether I agree with it or not. So I think us boys are going to have a very interesting discussion about that. Let's see if I change my mind on where I currently stand on it. But before we take a deep dive into that, let's take a little bit of a recap into Sunday's game. Because, yeah, it's just another one. We're 6 games in, only 1 win, another loss, a red card. That was it harsh? Was it not? Who knows? Fact of the matter is just everything goes against us. No matter whether you think it's harsh or think it's fair. Fact of the matter is, Gusto clearly didn't want to tackle Digne. He just cleared the ball and happened to collide with Digne after. And that kind of derailed the whole game. I personally felt until that point, especially with how we started the second half, I thought we were probably going to go on to win the game. Now, that could very much be wrong, and we could have lost it even with 11 men. Absolutely. But when you look at the chance that Sterling had, where Sterling probably thought he was offside, which is why he shot and didn't square it, but played to the whistle. Why would you not shoot? Why would you not square it? Like, there's just no logical explanation in this situation to not square it. And imagine we're 1-0 up. Like, that's a 0-0 and Gusto not being sent off. If we go 1-0 up there, chances are we win the game and we're in a very different position. Instead, now we go into taking on Brighton in the Carabao Cup tomorrow, being ridiculously desperate. We have 2 prices all of a sudden. Not sure but I hope this is the right one. Going into Brighton tomorrow, and honestly, my confidence level are about 0. But we need this win so badly. Like, any win, really. But a cup win, at least, because in the league, even if we win, we're still like 11th, 12th. So like, it's like a cup win would almost do a little bit more for our, I don't know, mental sanity, if you will. Because Pice has gone in and out, I will start with Pice to see if I've got the right Pice and if we can hear him. Pice, thank you for being here. You didn't hear all of my waffle now, but what I'm going to start it with is, when you look back to Sunday, and now it's a couple of days in the past, how do you feel about that game? Like, is it just another one of those where you play all right, but we don't score and then we don't win? Or is it because it's happening so regularly? Is it more than just that?
Yeah, no, we didn't play all right, to be honest. I was at the game. I didn't think we played very well. I don't think we had the volume of chances we had against Bournemouth. The first half was very boring. To be honest with you, I didn't really enjoy the game. I didn't really feel like we played that well. And then the red card obviously ruined everything from there, But I saw a lot of people say, well, what do you want Poch to do? He got a red card. We wasn't scoring if we had 11 men. Like, that's how I felt standing there. It was just sort of very hopeless. Same old, really. A lot of sideways passing. I think our best chance came in the first half when Mudryk actually played a fantastic ball to Jackson, who again missed. So, that was the only real sort of moment of like, wow, okay, that was something different from what we usually see, But other than that, very repetitive, same old. Question what they do in training for me. And I expect the same tomorrow night as well, unfortunately. I don't want to be negative. It's just the position we're in. I don't know, especially with this little recovery, what we can expect different. I mean, even after the game, Poch was like, I'm going to get them prepared. Let's try and hopefully score on Wednesday. It's like, what do you mean hopefully score? Like, you sounded like a fan. Like, you're the coach. Like, get them to bloody score. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy. But yes, we're in a terrible position at the moment.
We are. It's an interesting one. Now, I will be perfectly honest. I don't really remember everything that happened in the Bournemouth game, especially when we don't win. I try to remove those games from my memory as quickly as I can. But from what my memory is still telling me, I think we had more chance against Villa, but because I don't remember the Bournemouth game properly, I'm not going to properly disagree with you. But yeah, you're not wrong in terms of the Jackson chance was the main kind of real chance that we created ourselves. Plus that Sterling square, really. It was those two. Those were the main ones where obviously you in the stadium, I assume by now you figured out that he wasn't offside. But at the time, you obviously wouldn't have realised that, so maybe didn't take it in as such a big chance in the moment. But yeah, in the end, it turned out, even though the liner flagged it, Sterling wasn't offside. And if it just squared, it would have been the easiest tapping in the world. It would have done well for Jackson in terms of, well, the slander he's getting would have done well for Jackson in terms of just confidence levels, and obviously Chelsea as a whole. Ollie, thank you for joining. I appreciate it very much. Similar question to you. A couple of days past the Villa game now. Obviously, we were talking in the group chat. I saw a few tweets as well on Sunday. You were not happy. You were not happy. You were not in a good place in terms of, you know, what you thought or felt about Chelsea. You said yesterday you kind of feel a bit better about it now, but still, looking back on it with the situation we're in, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about the game? Like, do you stand more with Pais that we weren't good, or do you think we were actually all right but just failed to score? Where do you stand on it, and then kind of allude that further into kind of where the real problems are?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can say I was very upset, and now I'm kind of just apathetic, which I don't know if that's worse, but you know, it's like it. I just sometimes you get the anger out, and then you just feel nothing about the team when they play like that sometimes. But I even think that we did all right. I don't quite agree with Bice, because I actually thought we were better versus Villa than against Bournemouth, but I think it's neither here nor there. But it just seemed to me that we just can't get it in the onion bag, can we? You know, it just, no matter what we do, the ball just will not go in. You know, like I thought, especially against like Bournemouth, for example, we were unlucky where we hit the bar and hit the post and all of that stuff. And I don't know. It's hard to know where to go from here. I think that's where a lot of Chelsea fans are kind of at, where it's like, well, we've kind of seemed to have tried everything or tried a lot of things, and things aren't really changing. You know, that form's not improving. Things aren't getting better. And people, I think, were expecting like a big uplift this season, like a big response in terms of last season. And so far, we've not had it. We've not seen it at all. You know, patterns of play have been a bit better. It's been a bit quicker. But we're not winning games. And ultimately, at the end of the day, football's a results-based business, and you can't, you know, play really well and lose every game, because ultimately, at some point, you have to acknowledge that you clearly didn't play well enough to win, and that's the whole point of the sport. So, yeah, we are where we are.
Exactly, and these are really the problems, because it's kind of a downward spiral because of everything that's all of the change that's happening. Because it's now not working, that makes everyone, and I assume that also goes for inside the club, even though I don't know for sure, but I feel like if it's us fans, they must subconsciously question whether things were the right decisions and stuff. And that makes everything, just like I say, be a downward spiral, and make it more of, the longer this goes on, the more and more difficult it gets to come back out of it. Like, as much as we can say, and it's true, that it's a project and with time it will get better. This is what happens when you have a young squad, and on top of them being young, them all being kind of assembled in the space of 12 months. It's kind of like rolling a bunch of dice and say, do something. That's essentially what this is. So obviously, and I think all three of us are, you know, are aware enough that we understand that, of course, those things will and do take time. But that doesn't mean we should only win 1 out of 6 games, and that being against Luton. Like, our run was very favorable in these first 6 games. And we sit here with 1 win, with 5 points. Like, it's a disgrace. And no matter what you say in terms of, it's a project and it will take time and whatever else, that doesn't make it good enough. That doesn't make it acceptable. And I'm not one of those that's saying, now we need to sack Poch now, because I don't even know what I think of that. I don't
think Poch is the biggest problem. I think
neither do I. And the problem is also, I don't think no matter who you bring in, it would be that much better, that much quicker. Like, it would get better eventually, but it will also get better eventually with Poch. Obviously, we don't know.
But then it's more upheaval, more changes again. You know, new manager with players he didn't buy. It just makes the whole
project take longer if we get another manager.
Yeah. I think we can all say at this point that the project has failed so far. It's been an abject failure so far. From what the owners will have planned to do, it's gone absolutely nowhere near where they thought it was going to go. And they need to turn it around. Things need to change.
Yeah, no, it is very true. So far, you absolutely have to say it has failed. Now, this is a very interesting thing that's going around at the moment. The fact, XG Philosophy also posted that Chelsea and Manchester City, who actually won every game, but Chelsea and Manchester City are the only teams that won every game in the league so far this season that they've played on XG. The problem is we only won One of them in reality. Now you can see a few of the, and it's not even just the Premier, it includes the Carabao Cup game against Wimbledon, and you can see them on screen against. I mean, the order is kind of strange, but we start off with Liverpool. It was very close in terms of in our favor, but still, we won it on XG against Bournemouth. We won it. What is this order of how the games are lined up? But it doesn't matter. Against Bournemouth, we had a little bit more. So even though I'm surprised we only had 1.8, considering Sterling hit the bar with a free kick that fell on the line. So I'm surprised it's only 1.8, if I'm honest. Against Wimbledon, obviously, that's a little bit more less so to mention. Against West Ham, even they had 1.8 and scored 3 goals. We had 2.5 and scored 1. Now, obviously, a penalty. I'm not sure how much XG a penalty is. Is it like 0.9 or something?
I think it's like 0.75.
Oh, is it only 0.75? I thought it was even more than that.
I think it's something. It's around that, I think.
But even still, so if you take the penalty away, which obviously we won that penalty fair and square, so you shouldn't just take it away, but it's not an open play situation. So if you take it away, we arguably didn't win XG against West Ham, depending on how much a penalty is worth. Against Luton, it was very clear, at least we won that one. And against Forest, 2.2 against 0.68, and we still lose. And then obviously on the weekend, 1.44 against Villa, and we still lose. I'll start with you, Pys. When you read this, now obviously XG doesn't mean everything, and I have my own thoughts on XG because XG is kind of it's a very useful metric. It's a very good metric that's kind of come about of the last 3, 4, 5 years as a really relevant stat. But what I think it never really includes and factors in is who has the chance and how, we factor in you're 10 yards out, 1-on-1 with the keeper. This is so and so much XG. But surely it should make a difference whether it's Erling Haaland after he's touched the ball 3 times and run about 2 kilometers, or whether it's Ben Chilwell, who's actually a left back, after just sprinting 60 meters across the entirety of the pitch. Surely the likelihood of that ending up being a goal shouldn't be the same just because it's in the same position. Different player, different strengths, different, your heart rate after sprinting 60 meters or just waiting for the ball, very different. So XG doesn't tell you everything, but it still puts a little bit of a perspective on it that we were the better team in all of these games. Against Liverpool, you could say it's even. That's why the XG was so close. So a draw was probably a fair result overall. But we still don't win. But Pys, do you sit here and say it's literally just scoring goals? Or is it like the chances that we have also don't fall to the right people necessarily? Obviously, Chile, as an example, has had a fair few of them. Obviously, part of that is because he was at left wing. But then you compare it to Mudryk, and I'm not trying to criticize Mudryk here, but how many chances has Mudryk had? Other than that one late on against, I can't even remember who it was against, when he had that through ball and then took it around the keeper a bit too far. That was the only situation where Mudryk was in a position to even try to score. But then when Chilwell plays left wing, it's always him. So is that Mudryk doing things wrong? Is that Chilwell doing things wrong? But where do you stand on it? Is it as simple as we don't take our chances? And if it is that simple, why? Because how can we be good at defending? How can we be decent in midfield? But in attacking areas, it's just going wrong. Is it because the attacking areas are the most difficult? Is it because we bought the wrong players? Where do you stand on it when you see, us and Man City are the only teams that won every game on XG?
It's a bit of a difficult question because, I think there's 2 sides to it. I've got my own separate issues with Poch from what I see on the pitch as well. I think, especially on the weekend, our build-up was absolutely disgraceful. I generally, at times, I didn't know what we was trying to do. And it comes down to the player, what you're telling the players as well, because, these players, right, they were just refusing to pass into midfield. Whether it be Gallagher open, Caicedo open, they just wouldn't pass into midfield. Every time Villa got the ball, they would just pass straight into midfield, which, again, they were allowed to do because another issue which I'm having is our pressing is really, really bad. I don't understand it. I don't know if you guys agree, but I'm watching. I just think our players just compared. I'd love to see a video from pre-season to this season. Some of our pressing sequences, I felt like we were just crazy in pre-season. Pressing, counter pressing. But now I don't see that, and it's weird because we get all these reports coming out Chelsea were working really, really hard in training and. That type of thing. I saw it in the Daily Mail last night that it's being likened to being beaten by an army camp. That's how much fitness work they're doing. But that can also make you tired. But surely that should help your endurance and fitness work as well. And we're not seeing that on the pitch, in my opinion. But in terms of the XG, I think some of it is definitely buying the wrong players, in my opinion. You know, Jackson is not an out striker. He did play on the wing as well before he joined us. He did play a bit on the wing for Villarreal. I said when we signed him, I was like, you can't not be alarmed by that patch he had at the end of the season. Like, whatever, he wasn't starting whatever before, but still, like, you score 9 goals in 8 games. Okay, that's incredible, but what about before that? Like, how much did he play before that? You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and to put all that pressure on him leading the line. Okay, we didn't expect Nkunku to get injured, but is he the guy you want up top anyway? I'm not sure. Broyer obviously got injured, coming back now, so I think we'll see in the next few games whether, like, players coming back can help, and obviously, you know, if we do improve just in terms of build up and how we create our chances. Because again, I go back to the Villa game. The Mudryk ball was really the only sort of thing where I was like, wow, okay, that was a bit different, and that came down to the player. He's done that a few times. He did that against West Ham last season when Havertz was offside, the same ball. So I don't really know how much coaching I'm seeing on the pitch. You know, I felt like in pre-season I could see a lot of obvious sort of like moments where, you know, a left back would move into midfield and then we'd create a chance from there, or, you know, wingers would come inside, and there was a lot of rotation on the sides. And now it's like you get Poch blaming the attacker, the fullbacks going for too far up on the pitch against Bournemouth. It's like, it just seems completely disjointed. I don't know what's happened. So yeah, in terms of the XG though, there's definitely part of it where we've definitely signed the wrong players, and young players again. You know, they get through on goal, they're not as clinical. You know, where you get Ollie Watkins through on goal, hardly had a chance, you know, in the whole game, but because he's an experienced Premier League striker, he goes and nets it, you know. So,
but he wouldn't have scored for us though, would he? Like if Ollie Watkins was in an identical situation,
I know
no matter who we play against, their goalie saves it. Like, and that's not even trying to have a dig at Sanchez. He was amazing outside of that goal he conceded. But I guarantee the way things go for Chelsea, if he had that identical chance for Chelsea, he doesn't even get the rebound. You know, after Colwell's block, the fact that the ball falls again to Watkins for him to have a shot again is so ridiculously unlucky for us. That would never happen if he played for us. It just wouldn't happen. And I know that's a silly thing to say, blaming everything on luck and everything, but it's true still. I fully believe that. But
what do we do there though from there? Like, if you feel like that about experienced players, then what do you do from there? Like, do we just not sign a striker? Like, what happens? Like, you know what I mean?
Honestly, my solution to this is there is no solution. It doesn't matter who we sign or what we do. Nothing will fix it.
We are cursed.
No, literally, only time will fix it. Like, obviously, by January it might be a different scenario whereby then that point an experienced striker might help. That may well be the case. But if you threw them in right now, I don't think it matters who you have up front. The same problems occur. Because, like, we had Lukaku, who is obviously very different scenario in terms of the rest of the team and the setup of the club and stuff. I get that. But still, we had that guy there. It worked for 3 weeks. And after that, he was fucking dreadful. So it doesn't matter how experienced you are, how good you are, how what you are. At Chelsea, it don't work. It's just unfortunately how it goes, isn't it? I'll let you speak your mind on the XG situation in a second, Ollie. Let me just highlight these 2 super chats. First one by Kahinde. Sorry if I said your name wrong. He says, I remember when everyone said a poacher like Tammy wasn't good enough and chose to back Timo and Havertz. We now have Jackson, who is worse than all 3.
Well, that's not true at all. That's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think Jackson is worse than all 3 of those. But
Jackson's actually very
worse
similar.
than all of them but Timo.
I would say Jackson's very similar to Timo. You just, you know, stylistically kind of, he looks like
but he can
playing
control
off the left more. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not really a striker. He's more of a left forward, that sort of thing.
Yeah, except that Timo couldn't control a football and Jackson can do that. That's the one.
That's true.
That I would say it's different.
Or hold the ball up. Jackson's very good at holding the ball up.
Yeah, no, that's true. But obviously that's also a size thing. Like that's a bit difficult for Timo. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, there is rumors now that, you know, Roma might like to keep Lukaku permanently and might offer Tammy in a swap deal, which will probably make us be on the worst end of the stick again, where we probably have to pay on top of it to get Tammy back. Which, I mean, I like Tammy, but do I really think that getting Tammy, especially after that second season you had in Roma, is the one to fix any of the problems? Not really.
I don't think going for Tammy makes sense when you've got the chance of getting Tony.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, no, I agree. And you have Jackson as well, right? Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you had Tony and you were like, okay, let's make Tammy the backup to Tony, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes it. If you've got Jackson as well, though, yeah, like
Exactly. And you have Broja. So
Mhm.
I don't really see the need. But then again, the whole Tony thing, I don't understand why people think we're going to get him. We're now in the second season of being 15th. And if Arsenal are genuinely interested, why on earth? He's an Arsenal fan as well, by the way. Why on earth? Or apparently he liked Liverpool and Arsenal. I'm not sure how that works. But anyway, why would he choose us over them? They pay more. They are more likely to win something. He's equally as likely to play regularly. Why would he come to us? Like, people need to get this, like, at least the expectation that we will get him out of their minds. Yeah, there's a chance, but as we've learned, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be any good. And the more crazy impressive it is that we get him, the less likely he is to succeed anyway. But yeah, the next super chat by Ricky, sorry. He says, according to our owners, the data will get us wins. Well, the thing is that you're making it a little bit simple. Pep Guardiola also thinks in data. The best managers think in data because data is what's most relevant, because you can't always just say, you didn't score, now you're awful. Football isn't that simple. And if you make football that simple, improvement is very difficult. Because, yes, it's all well and good. But imagine all of this XG that we have on screen now. We were losing every time, but we scraped the 1-0 win in like 4 of those games. Sure, we'd have more points right now, but it would still not be a good thing. Because
I think people would genuinely be a lot happier. I think people
of course they would be a lot happier.
No, but people would be saying we're not in a crisis and all of this stuff. Like, but you're right. It's like it's the perception of what a win can give you, and ultimately that is the ultimate goal at the end of the day. But
I got another question to throw to you guys. Would you not be more concerned if we had? I know we're not winning, but if we had less XG than most of those teams, actually all of those teams, okay, minus Liverpool. Would you not be more concerned? Because I expect us to have the most XG.
Exactly,
anyway.
That's what I'm trying to say. So if we had less XG but still won, I'm like, okay, it's great that we won, but this is still a bad sign for everything that's happening at the club. And then we would be in a position, okay, we're winning, but watching the games would be a lot worse, if that makes sense.
That's
because
with those
less XG than all those, we'd have to be awful.
That's why for me, that's why I'm a bit worried about the coaching, because as much as this XG looks good, it's like we've got players that are naturally going, we're going to have 2 or 3 chances a game. It's physically impossible not to with the players we've got. We just do out-team people, but at the end of the day, we're not winning. It's how can they say look at the data, which I'm assuming is what they're looking at, how we've had the chances and stuff like that, and be like, okay, Poch is going to turn it around. Well, we were going to have this data anyway, no matter what manager we had. You could have Sam Allardyce and we'd still win on next year. I'm convinced, because of the players we've got. They are good players and they will create stuff.
If you only look at XG, I'd agree. But obviously, XG isn't the only set of data where we look good.
Yeah, that's true. With
I don't know what they're looking at, because I don't know.
Well, you're looking at chances created. You're looking at chances against you. You're looking at the kind of chances you create. You're looking at touches in your opposition box, how many shots you have, those kind of things.
Again, though, aren't we going we're going to dominate on possession, which then naturally means less chances for the other team? Because
just think about the games under Frank Lampard last season. We had essentially the same team. No, we didn't essentially have the same team. That's not true. But look at the games under Lampard. We played teams that were equally as bad as the teams we're playing now, and we weren't creating fuck all against any of them. So
something's moving in the right direction.
When he came in last season, it was just no one give a shit at that point.
That is true, but then I still think you can't just say, we do it anyway. But then we didn't do it last season.
This is what worries me, though, bro, because it's this might be the case now, but we get to what? Let's say middle of October, end of October, this is still the same. It's what the hell? What do we actually do? We can't just keep going and going.
The problem is also that it was the same last season. Not maybe to the same extent, but
it was the same last season. But I think this is actually, it says something about the underlying way in which XG is calculated as well. Because certainly under Potter, what happened, we had high XG in a lot of games and we still didn't win, as we know. But what that was an accumulation of a lot of quite low XG chances. It was a high XG by volume, not by quality. And I wonder if that's something we're falling into here as well, where we say, well, the XG is good, but is that because we had however many, instead of having one shot which was 0.3 xg, we had 3 shots that were 0.1. You know, and there's something to be said about actually the quality of chances we're trying to take as well. You know, so while we are creating
every
things,
top team though, in a way,
no, it would, but I'm not. But it applies to us too. You know, I'm just saying, like, while it looks like, you know, to me, it might be something to do with just kind of the kind of coach that Poch and Potter are. I don't know if it's just that's just the way they prefer to create chances by volume instead of trying to just take one moment. But the downside of that, as we've seen, is that you can miss a lot of chances, you know, and it doesn't always go your way.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, Kinde follows up with another super chat. Appreciate it, man. He says, we have incompetent forwards. That's our problem. I mean, when you look at just for September, the fact that it's September 26th and we haven't scored a goal is, first of all, embarrassing and disgraceful. But to not score from 5.5 XG is more than just, okay, XG is a bit skewed. You know, like you're right, Ollie, with what you're saying. But for us, the difference is so extreme that it's not just, okay, XG is a bit weird.
But this is why, as well, I think about XG is that people look at it wrong, because I think a lot of people look at XG right after a game, right, and just look at that game in isolation, when XG is supposed to indicate trends over time. So, you know, it can give you an idea about who was better in a game, but it doesn't always go that way. But it's much more valuable like this, where you can go, well, okay, over September, we should have scored on balance about 5 goals and we got none. That's a massive gap, right? What's the issue here that's causing that? And that's how you can look at the underlying sort of narratives around the stats that we see.
Exactly that. It's exactly that. And I don't have it ready as a tweet now, but I read the stat that we are like 6.6 goals behind our own XG, which is just insane in the space of 6 games. Like, that is just crazy. Is it just incompetent forwards? Now, in some cases, obviously, yes. What game was it where Jackson missed that huge chance? Was it Forest? Was it Bournemouth? One of them.
Just Forest, I think.
Yeah. Situations like that, sure. Maybe even Chilwell's one-on-one in the last game, where he just made it so blatantly obvious which corner he was going to shoot to, that a decent keeper in Martinez will read it and save it, as he did. But is it just incompetent forwards? Because for 4 of these 6 games, we only had 2 forwards on the pitch. So, yeah, sure, we can blame the forwards, but it's part of the problem is that we don't have enough forwards. Because I'll bring something different up on screen now. And it's like, when I look at it, I'm like, well, flipping, obviously we don't score. And this is now with Mudryk. You could go take a game before that where this one was Chilwell. And I'm like, well, yeah, obviously. We never have anyone in the box. Like, Jackson is the only... Fernandes is supposed to be a 10, but basically plays like a right mid behind the right winger, which is completely illogical, by the way. And Gallagher is like kind of off the left, but so deep that he isn't any use in terms of link up with the left-hand side. And then you only have Jackson in the middle. The way Poch is using the striker in this scenario is like, yeah, this is when you need a type of Havertz or Firmino striker, not a Jackson. Because when you have a Jackson whose strength is to run, then you need someone there. It's just all of it. The whole Enzo being a 10 and Gallagher being a pivot player just makes zero sense to me. And it's just, we don't even have, like, my problem is also, yes, we create XG because we somehow get it to our players anyway. But because our box presence is so poor all the time, that means even though our players get the ball in a good position to finish, because there's less of our teammates around, that means more opposition defenders are going to be on our 1 or 2 attackers in the box, making it more difficult for them to actually score. There's more likely to be a deflection, more likely to get a block, more likely to be all of those things, and less likely to score. So, for me, box presence is a big part of the reason. For me, it's not just, our strikers can't score. For me, we don't have enough players in dangerous areas at any time. And, go on.
Loz, let me go one further than that. Because you could also look at it in terms of like the speed at which we're playing and the verticality in which we're playing, because we were creating a lot of chances and it looked like we were playing really well in pre-season when we were playing this sort of one-touch, quick passing, vertical football, right? You know, and now we seem to have reverted back to this thing where we're constantly passing it side to side, probing, trying to find openings. And what that does is that allows for every time that we attack, it allows the opposition teams to get back into their shape and set properly, right? For us to attack most of the time outside of counter attacks and things like that. And then what happens is then when our players do get chances in those areas, the team's already set. So they know, they're well drilled in those positions. They know what they have to do. And that's why sometimes, that maybe the shots we're taking in those areas aren't going in because we're not playing quickly enough to do it, and the problem is as well with that is that we can't necessarily play quickly enough to do that because at the moment, a lot of our players have issues with trying to play too quickly. Look at Mudryk, look at Jackson, look at Gallagher. But then we also have players who can't seem to play any quicker, like someone like Thiago Silva, who, stays on the ball for a really long time. I know he's kind of partially baiting the press, but also I think sometimes, you just need to make these quick passes up the channels. A bit like what Colwell was doing on the left at times, down to Chilwell. But just throughout all around the pitch. And I just feel like that lack of verticality and like causing panic among defenders and, instead trying to just like pick and probe means that whenever we do get into good positions, their players are also in good positions to be able to defend it well, So like it feels like that's also potentially an issue there.
I don't disagree. My counterpoint will be against Villa. I felt we did play a lot more direct, which is why the possession was more evenly split rather than 75+% like it was in all the other games. And then we have the problem, or our team has the problem, that we then lose the ball too quickly. When we try to play more directly, we don't keep the ball. So it's kind of like neither works. I mean, Leo is being very funny, saying this analysis is rubbish. Box present isn't an issue. Missing 1v1 opportunity is. But how much of our XG was 1v1 opportunity? Like, you can have Jackson in the last game, you can have Chile, and you can have the penalty.
Sterling as well in the last game when he should have squared it.
Yeah, but that didn't count to the XG because it never went to VAR, so it counted as offside, right? So that isn't even included in our XG, which is mental. Like how many? Like there was three really, if you include the Enzo Fernandez penalties, 1v1 opportunities. I think box presence is still an issue because I still think we could create more outside of the chances that we all have already missed, and would then in total just be more likely to score. But I want to bring up another one because the most concerning about all of them is Chelsea's points per game over the last 35 matches, 3 short of a full season, as everyone should know, is 0.8 points per game. That would get you relegated in every single Premier League season and have you finish bottom or joint bottom in 97, 98, 2005, 2009, 2011, 2014, 2015, and 2018. And this is where I get annoyed with some of the people that are so overly and fake and forced optimistic and positive, where I'm like, yeah, okay, it's okay. You can say believe in the project. You can say it takes time. That's all well and good. But none of what's happening at Chelsea, none of the transition, none of the player changes, none of the managerial changes excuse this. 0.8 points per game over basically a full season is a disgrace for a club like Chelsea. And people say, oh, we're too big to go down. Leeds went down. Leeds went down in 2004. We can go down. I'm not saying we will, but we can. And if we keep doing this, we will. And I feel like people don't understand the severity of that situation and the severity of these stats. Like I see people, and obviously Pys and Daily were like beefing people like Olivia Buzaglo or however you pronounce her name. And I'm like, yeah, I get the positivity. I get like, okay, give it time. And that's also a fair stance to have. But don't do it blindly because these stats are still real. And this is still concerning. And I get we had 3 or 4, whatever, different managers in that period.
You can't just ignore the reality of the situation. What I think we saw that it was there was that other thing recently that came out saying that we're basically bottom of all the teams that have been in the Premier League both last season and this season. We're bottom with Everton in terms of points. And everyone thinks they're going to go down this season.
Mate, people, honestly, I don't think people realise, unless we fix up very quickly, what sort of shitstorm is coming our way in the next couple of months. Like, this is why I get so annoyed because, like, Olivia, for example, she was like, I just 100% back it. Tom Otherham, 100% back it. Poch was, it's 5 games, it's 6 games. Like, no, it's not only 6 games. Like, this has been happening the whole of last season. And we've got, like, this is 6 games now, but look at the fixtures we've got. We've played, quote unquote, easy teams that we should
exactly.
be winning.
And look at the fixture we had. That's partly why we won every game on XG,
Bro,
because other than
it's
Liverpool,
like-
we didn't play anyone good.
I say it again, bro. The Luton game, right? What was the goal that we scored to open it? It was individual brilliance. When have you seen that from Sterling in the last 2 years? Very rarely happens, right? I'm not I know it's what ifs or if buts maybes, but I'm saying that could have easily been another draw if that individual brilliance didn't happen. And that individual brilliance does not happen often enough for us to be winning those games. So it's honestly, Pete, just we'll just wait and see. And I don't want it to be what I think it's going to be, but honestly, just look at stuff like this. Look at our fixtures coming and how honestly, I thought we'd do much better this season because one game a week is so much better, right? It's longer preparation.
To be fair, the whole one game a week has only really taken effect now, right? Because Champions League was for the first time last week. So until now, everyone had the same rest as us.
Yeah, but that's not been the case for Villa specifically as well, because they played on the third day, didn't they?
That's what I'm saying. So that was the first game where that was different.
Yeah, and look how it went.
No, exactly. But obviously, the whole having more games and that having a bit of an effect both in
that won't truly take effect yet for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. That won't take effect until November, December time.
Yeah,
but
until there's
I still hear your point. No, absolutely, Pys. Of course you're right, and it's 6 games with this manager, but also to go back to what you were talking about earlier, Pys, the whole pressing thing, we can all see it. It's just I would love to know if Pochettino has an answer to that, because obviously there's a bit more detail to that could play a role in terms of, we played Brighton, we played Newcastle, we played even Fulham with the type of manager they have. Maybe these teams are less likely to play it long, because if you're playing teams that will just play it long when you do press them, there is no point in pressing them. That's why even City then don't press those teams, because it's just unnecessary. You don't help yourself. You just make yourself run more and have yourself less compactness when the long balls, on the second balls of the long balls, if that makes sense. So there can be things to it, but we now played Villa. So, and we still did, and they aren't exactly a team to always punt it long. So that's where the question that the Pys arise, like mentioned earlier, is absolutely fair. So it's a mess to me. It's 0.8 games in the last 35 matches. It's just disgraceful, man. It's an absolute joke. And I want to continue still in a similar vein, if you deep it really, and talking about Pochettino for a little bit in terms of what he's talking about. Because today in the press conference, he was essentially defending his decisions and his decision to consistently play Levi Colwill at left back, because he's saying, I'm so happy with Colwill. He's doing so well. He's giving the team a lot of balance. And then he said, we probably played Chilwell out of position a little bit, because not his best position at least, while Mudryk wasn't fit totally. And now that Mudryk is fit, he isn't playing, but he will play tomorrow. And I'm like, but how can you sit here and tell me that Colwill has been doing so well and giving us so much balance? I cannot understand how you sit here and say that. Most of the games, we barely get any attacks against us. If they happen down Colwill's side, most of them anyway, actually. But also, first and foremost, it makes the life for whoever the left winger is, whether that was Chilwell or Mudryk, way more difficult. Because when the left back doesn't push up, that means whoever the left winger is taking on more opponents by himself. And that is more difficult no matter who you are. I don't care if you're Eden Hazard, Neymar, Messi, or Mudryk or Chilwell. It doesn't matter. It's more difficult to be 2 players or 3 players than it is to be 1 player. It's a fact. So I cannot understand how Poch sits there and says Colwill at left back is a great idea. That's just so concerning to me. I just don't, especially if did I close it? Yeah, I closed it, unfortunately. But that pass map we had open earlier, where you see our whole central coverage of the pitch is also shifted towards the right. So not only do you not have the left back pushed up, you don't even have anyone for midfield having the left attacking side either. So of course we are so heavily right-sided, which opponents aren't idiots, by the way, Mr. Pochettino. So the opponents just realize that. I'm like, okay, we need to just make sure we defend our left side a bit better. And then their right-hand side, we just attack, because Colwill never pushes up. So the left winger, so our winger doesn't never need to track back, which is, we can always be in a good position to essentially play him in. And then their winger, like our Chelsea's winger, needs to then track back to even defend the whole thing. And we're in a whole mess. So it's just a shit show to me. But I mean, Pies, I'll go with you first. I know you've not been happy with this whole Colwell at left back situation just as much as I and most of us haven't. But when you see Poch explaining and say he gives us balance, I'm like, what balance? Like, I understand we won every game in XG, but sorry, when you struggle to score, you need to help the team score. Not talk about fucking balance. We haven't scored a goal in the month of September. It's a disgrace. Don't talk to me about balance. Get us to score more. And you could even see we were down to 10 men and still having Chilwell at left back instead of Colwell made us more dangerous. Like, even down to 10 men, we were better with that. Now, think about it. If we had 11 players on the pitch, I just don't get it. But Pies, where do you stand on this? And by the way, shout out D Roberts for that £1 donation without saying anything. Appreciate it. But yeah, Pies, where do you stand on these statements from Poch?
Just as confused as you, to be honest with you. Like, we got 3 left backs on the bench. Like, and he plays as centre back at left back, and he literally called Colwell like can be one of the best centre backs in the world. Like, did he not say that a few weeks ago? I'm pretty sure he did. And he's playing him left back. I just don't understand. Like, what? But I don't understand how the balance thing comes into play. Like, didn't he literally say like the fullbacks were pushing too far up against Bournemouth? Like,
that's why he gives balance, because usually he doesn't do that, right?
It's a bit
reminiscent of like Jose Mourinho in 2015, right? When we had Aspie playing left back and he barely pushed up because he was a right-footed left back that didn't really.
If theoretically Colwell wants to stay back and play as a left back, even on the ball, and I mean off the ball, like not go forward as much. Like, surely the balance should then be that Gusto can go forward, but he doesn't like Gusto going forward. Clearly, like I don't really understand what the balance. Like, yeah,
no, it's a weird comment.
Still get forward a lot, but it's weird these kind of comments from Poch, especially because I know people say I'm a bit harsh on that, but because his English isn't that good. I'm never sure when he says, "Oh, the fullbacks push too much," but did he actually mean both, or did he only mean one? Like, I don't know. Because I'm like, clearly he wants Gusto to push up, otherwise it wouldn't be happening most times. But yeah, no, you still have a point, obviously, Price. But Ollie, for you, these comments by Poch on Colwell, that I'm not saying. By the way, I'm not saying that Colwell has been bad. I'm not trying to say that Poch should be criticizing Colwell. He should be criticizing himself for playing a centre-back and left-back. Do you know what I mean? Not Colwell. It's not a Colwell issue. It's a where Colwell was playing issue.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, it just seems that I just don't understand it in terms of like what it actually brings to the team and like what it takes away. Because taking away Colwell from playing, in the middle, either left centre-back or right centre-back, whatever, he could do either, I'm sure. Takes away from like him being able to do like his more diagonal styles of passing, like being sort of in range of more players for his good passing, one of his best attributes. And instead, Poch has put him out quite far on the left, so he can't even touch the other side of the pitch if he wanted to. And it seems just like a really strange way to do it, especially like you say, because it doesn't really seem to bring balance to the team. The only two things I can sort of see it for is that, for example, in the Liverpool game, Colwell really locked up Salah on that left-hand side to the point where he was frustrated when he had to go off because he just wasn't getting anywhere. And so for players like him and for playing against, I don't think any of our other left-backs or sort of pseudo left-backs would have been as good going up against a player like him defensively. The other part is,
we would have scored more if we had a left-back that forced Salah back instead.
I agree. But you could also say that Poch wants to play this kind of pseudo 3 at the back sort of thing. Like, it's kind of practically 3 at the back. So Colwell drops back.
Building a 3, defending a 4.
Yeah, you're building a 3, defending a 4. So we have Colwell playing effectively the left centre back, and then Gusto pushes forward into midfield.
But my only issue with that is, sorry to interrupt you again, Ollie, is that we're not even that isn't happening to a proper.
Yeah, that's what I was about to get to. Even that's not working at the moment.
Exactly, because Colwell has like half the touches of Thiago and Disasi, so you can't even say, "Oh, we're using Colwell to build up," but we're not even doing that properly.
Exactly, so we're kind of neglecting all of Colwell's best features entirely. And you effectively you could put a plank of wood there, and not do a dissimilar role. But I don't. I think the solution clearly for me is for one of Disasi or Silva to be dropped. Drop to the bench, have Colwell shift into the centre back position, and then anyone at left back, whoever. At this point, I don't care.
Yeah, No, exactly. There was also a bit, I don't have it ready as a tweet now, but he also was asked and talking about Thiago Silva, and he's essentially saying how great Thiago is doing and how we need him for build up and stuff. And I'm like, again, I don't understand. He's made mistakes in the last game that led to a goal we conceded. He made multiple other mistakes that indirectly led to goals that we conceded. And he is the worst of our players at passing out. So how can the manager, like in terms of that he takes the longest amount of time compared to all the other three? So how can you sit there, Mr. Manager, and say, if he said he gives us calmness and leadership, I would have totally understood that. And I would have found that a reasonable response into, even if you could argue Thiago is maybe a bit slow and getting on a bit, blah, blah, blah. You can still argue that you need him for those reasons. Yeah. But to say because of playing out from the back and because he's playing well, those are the two things that he's not doing. So how can he use those two as examples? Like, it's just mind-boggling to me. It's like I'm watching different games of football to him. I just can't get it. And by the way, Leo, ridiculously rubbish analysis, by the way, because yes, he will beat a man, but the lack of support means he has to not beat one, but two. And that's more difficult, especially when not having that much game time and lacking confidence. But anyway, yeah. I mean, on the Silva bit, I'll go with you again quickly first, Pys. I don't have it up on screen now, but I'm sure you read the quote. What do you make of that? Like, again, like I say, how can you say, like, passing out from the back, that's what we need him for, when he's slower than Disasi and Colwell and even Chalobah at doing so?
Yeah, to be honest, like this whole passing out the back thing, I don't notice it as much as some others. Like some others think it's like a real issue, like he has to be dropped because he takes too long.
I don't think that, by the way. I just think it's a weird thing to highlight him for that being his best attribute.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was the game. I think it was the Bournemouth game where I was like, right, yeah, you are taking like way too long on the ball. Like you can progress it quicker. But even on when we played Villa on Sunday, like I was watching, I remember a few times because who was it? Some reporter said like he sulks or something when stuff is going wrong. Like I can't remember who said it.
Let's be honest, it was probably Matt Law.
Yeah, maybe, but it's true. It is actually true because I was watching him and he wasn't getting the options, right? Or he wasn't getting the options. He didn't know where to pass. There were so many times where he would just like, when he'd pass the ball, he'd just like slap his hips and he'd get really pissed off.
Which is funny because when we conceded against Villa, Colwell absolutely threw a fit at Silva. I don't know if anyone saw that. Yeah, he was like screaming.
He did make the mistake. And
I'm not sure though if he was actually screaming at Silva or if he was screaming at Sanchez because they were kind of both in the same direction in front of him and they were kind of both at fault. So I don't know who Colwell was having a direct go at, but maybe
my
both.
point is though, like how much of it, this sort of slow ball progression is actually slow movement in front of him as well. Like because
but do you ever see Silva shouting to anyone move there? You remember Jorginho? People hated Jorginho, right? But when Jorginho had the ball, he was pointing and shouting at people, go there, run there. Silva don't do that.
Silva always points.
Yeah, but not while he's on the ball. He points to where to go while defending, but not while he's on the ball. He's not telling them go there so I can pass to you. So I'm like, how can you how do you slap your leg after you don't have the options if you don't tell them where the options are? You're the 39-year-old, the others are all 12. Do you know what I mean? You tell them.
The players should know. The players should be coached that movement anyway. So when the centre back middle centre back gets on the ball, they know what to do.
But football isn't that simple though.
No, it's both. They should be coached and he should have
coached.
the.
But it is though because the Villa player Douglas Luiz did it. But Douglas Luiz did it every single time. As soon as Paul Torres got on the ball, he literally dropped and picked up the ball, and it was a simple pass into midfield. None of our players did that.
It's both. You need the leadership, and you need someone to say point there in the game, and you also need it to be coached into you as well.
Exactly, because sometimes obviously things can be coached, but if the opponent presses you or covers you in ways that was maybe not quite planned for in the preparation for the game, then you need to adjust to it. And that's when the player, that's why I'm never one that goes fully in on managers, because I'm like, well, as much as the managers have a big responsibility and very important, on the pitch, it's still the footballers that need to figure it out. And all of us have played football before. I'm not sure how much any of us have played with like proper managers in terms of tactical instructions. But even if you play to the simplest, worst level of 5-a-side, 7-a-side, whatever football, when you're on the pitch and you see the guy you usually want to pass to is behind an opponent, well, then you need to find a different passing solution, not just cry. Like you need to figure it out. Like that's what football is about. You need to figure it out on the spot. That's what football is. That's why football is so fun. Otherwise, we could just make AI create a game and watch it. Like, or watch a movie about a football game. We didn't need to actually watch live football if it was all pre-coached anyway. There's no need then, right? But you're obviously still right, Pies, in terms of that it should be coached and the movement should be right. But if they're not, that doesn't mean you can't still try to do something about it on the pitch, is what I'm trying to get at, essentially. But yeah, Ollie, quickly, if you want to touch more on the Silva situation, like, again, I'm not trying to say Silva should be dropped, even though over the last, initially I was very adamant, no, if one of the centre-backs gets dropped, it should be Disasi. The last couple of games, I must say, Silva was worse than Disasi. So from on the basis of the last couple of games, you could say it should be Silva, not Disasi. But
I don't know. I don't care really at this point. If I'm honest,
no.
I think it's Poch is going to play them wherever they're going to play. Silva will likely always or almost always play until, at the very least, Badiashile is back properly, because we need an experienced, decent defender in the middle there, and he's even likely to play after Badiashile comes back because he's the experienced one anyway. So I don't know. I think regardless of what you think of Silva this season, I think it's undoubtable that his legs have gone a little bit. But I think he's going to be playing a lot of games for us this season anyway, which is frustrating because I don't think that was the plan, but injuries have really made that difficult.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. On the topic of injuries, which is actually an interesting one. I mean, was this other one from Poch, but essentially we spoke about it anyway. He says, we're playing well. It's only the not killing in front of goal. We kind of discussed that. I still think it's making it a bit simple to say everything else is great, because you can do things about scoring that are more than just the finish itself. And I feel like that's we're not doing it. He's just pretending everything else is great, like with his comments on Cole at left back being a brilliant idea. Those things to me are just odd. And I don't understand why he doesn't, like, we've done the same thing every game this season. I just don't understand. Like, he doesn't even look like he's trying to do something different. And that's one of the worrying things about me. But on injury notes, and on a slightly more positive note, Badiashile and Chukwuemeka have returned to partial team training and therefore should be somewhat close to return. Obviously, we don't know in detail. But at the same time, I'm like, well, brilliant. Initially, we were told Badiashile should be back from match day 3. It's now match day 7. And he's, after match day 6, the cup game after. And he's still not back. So, and he had a setback yesterday, last week, which is why he's only in partial team training this week rather than last week. Chukwuemeka seems to at least be somewhat on course, so I guess that's a positive. Pice, I need to ask you something, because I commented this under your tweet about these guys. Well, you can see my comment underneath. In terms of love how we still have no idea, or love how still no one is telling us what the situation on Lavia is. It's because I was busy last week and over the weekend. Did I just miss something? Because I swear, like a week ago or a bit more than that by now, we got like, we still need to assess him and do more scans and stuff. I swear we never got an update after, did we? Or if so, maybe I missed it. But
it was 6 weeks.
What is the situation with Lavia? Because all they're saying, rehabilitation program. But what is the injury and how long is he out for?
I always thought it was 4 to 6 weeks, but
did anyone
I thought I saw
something we always just didn't knew what injury it was, right? Initially, it was like, muscle in the ankle. I was like, what muscle is there then? So that never made sense. Then they were talking about ligaments. Then they were talking about, I read about ankle sprains. I'm like, what is it?
No, it was a twisted ankle he got in training. Yeah. Twisted. Yeah. It was twisted.
But I swear last week they said we need to assess him again. Did we get an update after? I don't know. I mean, maybe
I thought I saw a thing come out that said it would be 6 weeks. But
fair enough. Maybe I just didn't see it. But yeah, no, I mean, good. But it's just strange to me. But regardless, positive about Badiashile and Chukwuemeka. I'm not even sure how gassed I can get about Badiashile, really, because we're not even playing Cole with a centre back. So what are we going to do with Badiashile? Play him up front, probably. But Chukwuemeka is a positive to me. So because I do think we miss him quite a lot. But yeah, there's not too much to go into. I don't have a tweet for it, but also to follow up on it with Armando Broja. He is fit, obviously. He made his comeback in the last game, but he's not fit to start yet, obviously. I don't understand how anyone thought he would be after 10 minutes for the first time after doing his ACL. But Poch did say he's probably ready for 20, 25, 30 minutes to help the team. So that's good. I still don't think he's going to be available for next weekend against Fulham, which is when we need him more, because that's when Jackson is suspended. But we'll get into that. Do I have another tweet that we need to talk about? I guess I want to touch on this just quickly, at least. About two of these things. First off, Bruno Saltor has left. And Poch kind of just brushed it off in a press conference. He was like, well, he wasn't part of my coaching staff, so it kind of made sense for everyone. I'm like, but the way he made it sound like, so why did he ever stay then? Because the way Poch made it sound was like he didn't even really want him to stay. So why the flip was he ever there?
Stability. Just a little bit like something to hold over from last season, so not everything was the
The
same.
players really like him as well, from what I was told.
Which baffles me as well, because I thought they all hated Potter and everything to do with him. So how can they love Salto all of a sudden?
Oh, you can not like. Oh no, I think quite a lot of the players liked Potter. Actually, he just wasn't a very good manager.
No, I guess that's fair in that sense. Yeah, I mean, but I don't need them to be best mates. Yeah, I mean, like Salto can WhatsApp them if he wants to. I don't need him to be don't need to be. I don't need him to be a cop if he doesn't provide anything. But I just don't understand.
Stick him in the players' WhatsApp group and just be done with it. Yeah,
exactly. But it proves so much again, right? I mean, another tweet that you put out, I think earlier, where it was talking about how Poch asked for experience, but the recruitment team was like, no, we're not signing anyone over 25. Missing out on Madison, missing out on other options. And this seems like another thing that was like, okay, the ownership and directorship decided no, Salto is staying and Poch didn't even want it. It's just, and I know people say, oh, that makes Poch a yes man, but I'm like, well, what do you want him to do? You want him to like throw a hissy fit? First of all, that would just get him sacked, i.e. Tuchel. And second of all, what benefit do you get out of that? Because essentially the decision maker is still not Poch, no matter how much of a hissy fit.
I think they've done the right thing. I think that they assessed the situation early on. They probably went to Bruno and Poch before, and they go work together for 5-6 weeks, see how you feel, and then it just didn't work for Bruno, and so you move on. To me, that seems just like an efficient way to do things.
It's a fair way of looking at it. Go on, please.
What is this like secretly leaves Chelsea thing?
I know it made me laugh so much. That
he just turned up to train and he was like, "Oh, sorry boys, fuck this, I'm out. Bye."
No, he did what Mourinho
like in
did.
the middle of
in
training,
the laundry basket.
Just secretly left. Like what?
Yeah.
The hell?
But it does make me laugh as well that something secret apparently is in the national press.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Now, but your point makes sense in terms of maybe kind of a bit of a transition, and maybe it was never planned. I mean, we don't know. It's just Matt Law talking, isn't it? Maybe it was never planned for Salto to stay that much longer. Maybe it was like help the new staff through the summer, and as the new staff are settled, you leave. Maybe that was the idea.
The first thing that it made me think was that that Potter was going to get another job. Like
but he turned down Lyon, which I found interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? I did think he'd end up in another job, but I think now maybe he's angling for the England job after Southgate probably gets sacked.
But would he still get it?
He got paid so much money. He shouldn't be in a rush to come back.
I think he'd get it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there was reports that they will try to get Pep, but they won't, will they? But yeah, one last thing before we focus on the team and stuff and the lineup for tomorrow is you touched on it earlier, I think, Pys. This report from Adrian Kajuma, I don't know the outlet, Daily Mail, where there was talk lots is being done on shape, information with a big focus on fitness, intensity, and high standards. On Jesse's recovery days, fitness work is still required, and some elements of training have been likened to being beasted in army camp. And there was other talk in terms of how they're trying to do everything to like make it work, and the mood at the club is kind of like in players that yes, it's bad right now, but it's only a matter of time until it clicks. And I'll say this again: if last season didn't happen, and like what we're experiencing right now was last season, I would be much more positive and much more optimistic. But because last season happened and last season felt so similar in so many ways, and then it turned out to never fix itself, that's why I have so little hope that it will fix itself now. Because I'm like, if it would just fix itself, it would have fixed itself last year, and it never did. So how can we be sure it fixes itself this year? It's
eerily similar, isn't it? Like even the talk about what I've been told about, like, the players are sort of like on board. They know that, we've done enough to win games. Like I was hearing this talk at some points last season under Potter, it was the same thing, and then, results kept on, being, indifferent, pretty shit. And then it just got to a point where it was untenable. And, some of us disagreed on when that point was, but it was still untenable eventually. And it's just like, it just seems the same. Like even like just the media stories, just everything seems the same. Like you said, the XG, like at some points last season, earlier on in the season, like, yeah, we could have won that game, it's just weird. It's just weird. Like the only positive thing is now though, is like, if he does survive like the Christmas run, then I think signing a striker and having Nkunku back and hopefully, hopefully he changes his ways. Hopefully he keeps playing Mudryk. Hopefully he actually plays Enzo back in the pivot with Caicedo. Like, this is the thing with me is Poch is like, there's so like little things he needs to change, but he's just not changing them. And that makes it extremely frustrating because I honestly, I don't know about you guys, but this Enzo as a number 10, mate, honestly, watching it from the stands, bro, he's one of our slowest players. This guy pressing almost as a second striker. I don't understand it. What the fuck is he doing? Like, it was like he had no influence on the game at all. And we know how much Enzo can influence games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally the only point I remember him. Like, how can that be the case? Bournemouth as well. How can that be the case that he has such little influence on the game?
Yeah, he's got to be running things, and where he is at the moment in the 11, it's just not working for him.
Bro. It's crazy. I don't understand what he's doing. He's playing Gallagher next to Caicedo in game. It's like, what?
And Gallagher's better at Caicedo at it. Gallagher won like 90% of his duels. Caicedo won one.
But you think about, like, if you think about high pressing, right? Sure, like, I literally smacked my head. Like, Gallagher is a high pressing player, second striker.
Enzo is not.
It's like, what?
The problem is that Enzo isn't a pressing player at all, and Poch finds it more important to press from Gallagher's area than he finds it up top. That's why Gallagher is playing where he is, and Enzo is playing.
But if you look at pre-season, our pressing from the front was really, really good.
Yeah,
it was really good, and it was like
because we played because we played Maatsen and we played Chukwuemeka, and those kids, they have the energy to do it. But the players that play now,
Gallagher, Jackson, Mudryk,
our team is so young. We can't say that like those players that were out.
No, not because of age necessarily. But Enzo isn't that type of energy.
No, I understand. But at the same time, he's still only like 22. He's going to be a spring chicken, isn't he?
Yeah, he should be anyway. To be fair, with how much that guy's playing, he won't be a spring chicken for much longer, will he? But yeah. I mean, Ollie, your thoughts on this? I mean, it's kind of not exactly surprising being done on shape and formation. I still don't see it, but, we didn't see what Conte was doing until he turned up with the 3-4-3, was doing it all of pre-season and in the first few games, even though we played a 4-2-4. And then from 1 second to the other, he all of a sudden changed it. Will that moment come with Poch? I doubt it, because he literally backed himself with his Colwell left-back situation yesterday. So I can't really...
I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see, really. Like, it's nice to see the focus on fitness. I can't lie, because... Last season, like especially at the end when Frank was basically saying our entire 400-man squad was unfit, and that is just inexcusable for a team like Chelsea. The top of elite sport, you have to be fit. That's the prerequisite. That's the baseline. That's the bar you have to meet to even gain entry. You have to be fit, and so it's nice to see a focus on that now, and hopefully we're getting over that now, over our fitness issues. And I think that's also part of the reason we've seen a lot of injuries. And I think I actually predicted it on this show at the time, that going from basically no fitness to a Pochettino team level of fitness is probably going to be jarring enough for some of the players' bodies. It's going to get them injured. Yeah. And it seems that I was correct about that. But it's good to see that hopefully nobody else is really picking up any more injuries at the moment. Like, it seems they all kind of came at once, which I think it also kind of backs up what I was saying. So with any luck now, we'll be a fitter team going forward, and things will improve.
Hopefully. I mean, we can only cling on to it, really. There was another one. I didn't find it on Nizar's page, so could be waffle. But Cole Palmer is set to start against Brighton in Carabao Cup tomorrow, was the report from Nizar. So I guess that is an interesting and a good one. We'll talk about that now as we get into our predicted 11 for tomorrow. Because the question is, does Palmer start as the number 10? Or does Palmer start as the right winger? Because one conversation that needs to be had is about Noni Madueke. He seemingly trained every day last week and has trained every day since the last game, but wasn't even on the bench. And again, of course, no journalist was like, let me ask the question, because it's not like a case of I just left him out because he wasn't fully ready. We had 2 goalies on the bench.
And 3 left backs.
Yeah, 2 goalies and 3 left backs on the bench. So you can't tell me, Mudryk wasn't fit. David Washington has been on the bench every game and never come on. You don't need to be fit to be on the bench, right? But the fact that he was left out but trains every day is mind-boggling to me. So I would obviously say Mudryk, of course, starts tomorrow at right wing and Palmer will be at the 10. But because Mudryk has been training but not even involved on the weekend, I'm not sure, will Mudryk play? Will he not be involved? I have no idea.
He did play in the last cup game, though.
He did. but that was before he had a little injury again, and then all of a sudden wasn't involved. So I have no idea.
Because I heard reports of like Cucurella potentially getting a game, like or getting a run out. So like I think
But today the press conference said Chilwell will play. So I don't know if both will play. Chile left wing again. I can't.
Oh God, the fact that's even a possibility.
If that happens, I'm taking the first tube home. I'm not watching that, honestly.
imagine Cucurella left back, Chilwell left wing. That'd be fun.
Fucking hell, my eyes would bleed. Jesus.
But Pice, do you know anything about the Mudryk situation at all? Or
I
what
don't. I need to maybe ask some people because honestly, I just don't get the sense that it's like, you know, like he's leaving him out or whatever because of bad training. I think maybe there's some sort of maybe not risking him. Maybe he does have a little injury still.
I'm sure he could still sit on the bench and just not use him, or use him for the last 5 minutes type.
Yeah, but that might be inviting criticism in and of itself about like why didn't you use him? He was on the bench. He could have changed the game.
But he can't just say it after.
Yeah, but it might just be easier to just not. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference to Mudryk.
But he also wasn't
he's not going to play anyway.
James was there.
Yeah, I know, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make a difference to either of them because if he wasn't going to play anyway, it only makes a difference to the fans.
I mean, that is true. But again, if you're in training every day for like a week, how unfit can you be?
I agree.
You know, like he's also not mentioned in anywhere on the injury list. It's not like he's doing any of rehabilitation program or what do they call it? Conditioning program. You know, he's not said to be doing any of those. So who the flip knows? I put Palmer in the 10 for now, but we'll still start from the back. I'll start with you, Ollie.
Sorry, Loz, is this what we want or is this what we think?
No, in this case, I'm asking you to predict it. So what you think.
Okay.
What you think Poch will pick. So do you think Petrovic will make his debut tomorrow?
I don't. I think it'll be Sanchez again. No.
Okay, interesting.
I just think Sanchez is finally starting to hit a little bit of form. He's actually been quite good in the last couple of games. I don't think Poch will.
But imagine we go out tomorrow. When does Petrovic ever play?
That's being a number 2. Extended periods on the sidelines, isn't it?
Yeah, but every number 2 usually gets cup games, no? Like Caballero.
Yes and no. It depends. There are other cup games. We'll be there.
They're in January, but true. Yeah, there you go.
You guys might think differently, but I just don't see it tomorrow.
Fair enough. Price, again, asking you not what you want, but what you think Poch will do. Do you think he will give Petrovic his debut, or do you think it will stick with Sanchez like Oli does?
Well, when is Petrovic going to play if he doesn't?
Tomorrow.
But the problem is it's Brighton, so he might be like, Sanchez, old team, potential motivation factor. And, they're a high-ranked Premier League team, so maybe he just doesn't throw Petrovic in. If I had to predict, I'd go Sanchez. My one will be Petrovic, though.
Okay. It's an interesting one. I didn't really consider the Brighton thing because you can also look at it from if he makes a mistake against Brighton, that will only cause even more media, fan talk.
Yeah, I think having that fallout with Disasi, though, maybe he's like, fuck this, I'm going to be like prime Neuer for a game or something.
Or exactly trying too hard gets to him when he concedes 3 howlers. Like it could be both.
Yeah, maybe punches the opponent in the face again, like Wimbledon. But he was really good last game. To be fair, he was very good last game.
Yeah, give him his flowers. He did all right last game.
No, he did, but still conceded through his legs like an absolute clown. So No, he did. Let's not lie to ourselves.
Big Rob,
how can you concede from that angle? It's one like he was amazing outside of that, but it's one of the most embarrassing goals a goalie can concede. The angle was so tight; it's ridiculous to concede from there. But anyway, you boys went with Sanchez. I was initially going to say Petrovic, but Pice's point about the whole thing with Brighton kind of made me change my mind. So I'm kind of 50-50 on it. So obviously we'll go with Sanchez regardless. But
I just think he'll just get the nod because of seniority, and we know how much we need a win. So I feel like it's going to be a pretty strong team tomorrow. Yeah, no, I agree. It's a strong team, absolutely. Like I say, my only counterpoint in my own mind is, like we touched on, when else does he play? He's not going to play. I guess really that's kind of like not get a game until January. I feel like that's not. I guess the thing is like when will he play? I guess the thing is, like, when will he play isn't really like Poch's problem. Well, it is until he starts making a fuss. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But probably not. Well, it also depends on what the recruitment team promised him, right? If they promised him you will play all the cup games, well, then not playing him tomorrow will cause an issue. If they didn't promise him that, then it won't. And we won't know, I guess. But there you go. We'll go with Sanchez. Centre back 2. Pice, I'll let you go first on this time. Who do you reckon plays?
Prediction? Silva and Colwell. Yeah.
Not Disasi. Just because of Silva's age.
No, I think Silva will play tomorrow. If I had to predict, I think. Yeah.
Fair enough. Ollie, do you agree with Pipes, or would you go with something different?
I was going to say Colwell, Disasi. I just think Silva probably needs a rest in his advanced years, and a cup game like Brighton, it's probably one that he can afford to sit out.
Yeah. See, I have a feeling it's going to be Colwell and Humphreys. I know it's Brighton. I know it's a big game, but Poch has proven already that he's very adamant about not putting players under too much load. When a player is not ready, he doesn't play a player. So obviously a centre-back is somewhat limited. And in the last cup game, it was Colwell that was on the bench, if I remember correctly. And it was Disasi and Humphreys that started. So that's that. But obviously the one thing I'll need to mention, Ollie, if Disasi plays centre-back, who on earth plays right-back? Because Gusto...
Yeah, it's a good point. Caicedo, maybe, like he did... against Brighton, I'm not sure that would even work because he played there for them, you know. So I don't know. I guess
Trev, maybe that'd be fun.
Trev on the right against Mitoma.
Trev ain't fit, bro. Trev ain't fit yet.
Oh no, he's not fit yet. No, in that case, yeah, it's got to be Disasi, I guess. But man, it's not great, is it?
Or are we going to see a situation where one of Chilwell or Cucurella plays right back? With the whole talk, Cucurella might get a run out and Poch saying Chile plays.
I really hope that's not the case. Cucurella on the wrong side versus Mitoma. Oh my god, it's gonna be a murder.
Will he get murdered more than Disasi? I'm not sure, but I guess with Gusto being suspended, do we have much? The only thing you have maybe Humphreys instead of Silva, but that's it.
Maybe actually, last game at the back.
Humphreys played right back, didn't he?
But Humphreys is on loan now anyway.
Is he?
Yeah, he's at Swansea.
I completely forgot. You're right. I completely forgot. Yeah.
But either way, I think we'll end up in that case. We might even end up playing a 3 at the back then, because
I don't think he'll change formation. He's played 7 games the same formation. He won't change it now, I think.
I get it, but at the same time, we get like the personnel issues now is a problem where.
But who do you have to play right wing back? Like you still don't have one.
Well, you can play someone like a right mid effectively, or a right winger who can sort of fill in. But that's easier than playing like a Cucurella at right back, isn't it?
It's true. I mean, Disasi does have experience of playing right back. He did it against Mbappe for Monaco. But I mean, Pais, what's your thoughts on could we potentially change formation because of the Gusto suspension?
No, I had Disasi predicted and in my one at right back because he played there for Monaco. So I think he'll play there.
Fair enough. Ollie, with the talk that we've had, we will. I mean, I would like to say Disasi here. I forgot that Humphreys is gone, so we don't have another option anyway. We have to play these ones. But what about left back? Do you reckon Cucurella or Chile then? Like
well, I mean, based on what you said about Poch saying that Chile will play, I guess I'm going to guess it'll be Chile. The only thing is obviously if he plays left wing or left back, but hopefully he plays left back.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky makes a good point. He says, question for the panel, does Poch play Maatsen at all when he's not re-signing? Seems like a poor decision. Also my fault, Ollie, earlier. I'm not sure what happened earlier, but yeah. Cheers, Charlie, by the way. I didn't clock it. And someone in the chat said it. My bad. I wasn't looking at the chat. I had the lineup screen open. My apologies. But yeah, I mean, that's another one to mention, Ollie. Sorry to interrupt your kind of answer there or force you for another answer. Is Maatsen an option?
I would like it. I think it'd be a good idea. You could potentially see him a little bit higher up, playing on the left wing, because that's kind of where he's played. I don't think he would play left back per se.
He could play as a number 8. He did that. Came on there once before.
But at the same time, so there's rumours that Cucurella's going to play. Poch has said that Chile's going to play. Where does that really leave Maatsen, except for potentially in the 10 where someone like Palmer's going to be a better choice anyway, even Gallagher there, you know?
Yeah. It's a weird one because I feel like that Cucurella rumour is more whoever wrote that article interpreting he might get a run out because it's the cup game rather than them having heard anything. But I obviously don't know, do I?
Yeah. Guess we'll see.
There you go. I agree with you, Ollie, in terms of I think it will be Chilwell. Pais, do you think it will be Chilwell or do you think it will be someone else at left back after the commentary match?
Chilwell, I hope. Yeah. If Chilwell plays and he doesn't play left back, I'm gonna have a proper hissy fit.
As you should, mate.
First tube home again.
Bro, honestly,
Literally.
like,
Mate, he's
please.
not got taking the first tube home. He's storming the bloody pitch and shouting at Poch. That's what he's doing.
Go
Hey,
on
to be
then,
fair,
go
if you
for it.
make it from Matthew Arden all the way to Poch, be quite impressed. So there you go. But on the question from Ricky Pice, what do you see about the Maatsen situation? Obviously, we've heard that he's rejected multiple contract offers, including 6+1 years and stuff like that. How do you see this one going? Like, or what is even the situation? Does he want to sign a contract if it's the right contract, or does he just not want to sign a contract with us at all?
I think he wants to play. I think he wants opportunities, and clearly he's not getting them.
But is he not getting them because he's not signing, or is he not getting them anyway? That's what we don't know.
I don't think he's getting them anyway. And then not signing leads on to not getting those opportunities. I feel like if he was more of a regular member coming off the bench, I feel like he would sign. Obviously, we don't know the details of whatever he wants and that sort of thing, what's been offered. But I think we've seen contract situations here can go, very one way or the other very quickly under this ownership. And to be honest with you, like I could almost see like our ownership saying, don't play him, he's not signing a deal, whatever. But he came on against Bournemouth for like 5 minutes, but that doesn't really count. So I don't think he's going to play tomorrow. I don't at all.
No, I just don't see where he gets a game under.
I would like to see him. I would like to see him play on the left-hand side. I would.
I think there is a chance he plays on the wing tomorrow, but
I don't personally. But I hope he does because I think he's a good player. But yeah, I don't see him playing much at all until January when I feel like he's going to get sold because I just feel like those issues with the contract. I don't think it's.
I agree. I think they've already tried to like push him out of the club once. So I think they'll try and sell him in January.
It's crazy.
I mean, we have also offered him contract, so it's clearly a case of we want him to sign a contract, but because he isn't, we're trying to sell him. So obviously, if things change on a contract basis, then we wouldn't try to sell him, I guess. But then again, we tried to sell Chalobah, even though we gave him a 6-year contract a year ago. So you never know with these lot. But yeah, let's move into the midfield. And on that note, I also want to highlight this chat message here by Goldston. Now, I don't know if what he's saying is right, but I'll take your word for it. He says Roberto or Robert, whatever his name is, the Serbi, has said he'll play the strongest team available. So that is an interesting one to keep in mind. Obviously, could be mind games, could not, who knows. But my days, Mitoma against Disasi scares the living daylight out of me. I can't even lie. But in terms of that, if they play the strongest team, what are we doing in midfield? I'll let you go first, Pice. Do the double pivot for me. Ugochukwu Caicedo, Enzo Caicedo, Enzo Ugochukwu. What would you do? What do you think will happen, Rob?
Predicted, I would go with. I think Ugochukwu will start because I think Poch trusts him.
Yeah.
But I would have him
obviously that Caicedo was just injured, was playing the whole last game.
I'd have him as the number 6 though, not in that position, but. Yeah, I'd have Ugochukwu there.
What do you mean not in that position?
Like, I'd play him as player 6, so he's the DM.
But as a lone 6?
No, like, so where player 6 is, that's where I'd play Ugochukwu.
On the left, you mean?
So left side is what you're saying?
Yeah. And then, I know it's because we disagree
but anyway.
about Kovacic, we had this all the time.
Yeah,
I feel like the guy that is now player 6 plays further forward, but I know we don't see it the same way, but anyway.
But it was interesting, actually. I'm not sure if you noticed that in the stadium, because let me get rid of this quickly. Well, against Bournemouth, it was obviously Ugochukwu, but in the last game, it was like these three, right? And in the last game, it was Enzo off the right, Gallagher off the left, Caicedo 6. And in the game before that, Enzo was on the left, Gallagher was on the right, and obviously Ugochukwu was the 6. But it was interesting how he swapped Gallagher and Enzo's side for these two games.
I think that's based on who Gallagher is like hunting in the press, probably.
That may well be the case. Absolutely, that could well be the case. But I still found it, not that it helped at all, but I still found it.
You telling me Poch has some tactics, Ollie?
I don't know, maybe.
There's also every chance, mate, that the players decided by themselves.
Stranger things have happened.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe Angelo was like, actually, Connor, I'd rather play on the right today. And Connor was like, oh, of course, mate.
Or they just got confused. Which side am I supposed to be on? Oh, don't know. Exactly. I'm just going to go here.
Enzo was like, ¿qué? I was going to say don't speak English and Spanish, but I couldn't think of what it's called. Anyway, Pice, Ugochukwu is the left one, and then the right one, who would you put there? Or who do you think will be put
Probably Enzo, to be honest. Because Caicedo, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but in warm-up, he had knee strapping on as well.
And
So I
then
don't
he
even know
played
if
the
he
whole game with the
almost
knee strap.
Did he? I didn't
Yeah,
notice it was
he did.
on. Well, Fez, then. I mean, I wouldn't play him tomorrow personally. I'd rest him.
Maybe
But
bring him on, but maybe not start him. Yeah,
He's worn that knee
Yeah.
strap a lot. Maybe he just likes it.
yeah, but we knew the
don't
injury
think so.
was a knock on the knee, right? So I don't know. Has he worn it a lot? I've not seen it, but you could be right, obviously.
I think he's worn it in like one previous game, I think.
Yeah, that is actually true. Imagine this was our back four. We'd concede four. That's what would happen.
They would absolutely clap us if we did that.
Exactly. Ollie though, double pivot.
Yeah, I'm
Chukwuemeka
happy
and
with that.
Enzo?
I'm happy with that. I don't think Caicedo will play. I think you need Enzo in there to have like someone who can actually play the ball forward, because otherwise.
But does anyone actually think Gallagher will not play? Gallagher started every game so far.
Maybe he deserves a rest. I don't know.
I mean, he deserves a rest, but Pochettino thinks different.
I don't know.
So
You could
that's
even
bench,
still
so-
see the one thing I was actually thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about this before we did this. Is that potentially you could have Gallagher as sort of player 9 playing off the right hand side, which also allows him to get back and help Disasi defend as well, which against Mitoma might be necessary.
But then we'll still not score, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you know, like that might be the way we're going to do it anyway.
There you go. Pies, I know you don't have that much longer, so let's wrap the front three up. Do you think in your expected team is Palmer the 10, or do you think he will end up playing right wing?
Who?
Palmer.
I don't even know what to predict, to be honest. Like, I could almost see Caicedo playing right back, because if Mitoma's played, he's defended against him before. He defended against Rashford in the semi, but I could see that prediction. I could see Palmer playing off the right and Gallagher in the 10. I'd predict that actually. I'd predict Palmer off the right, Gallagher in the 10. And then actually it'll
But
be Enzo.
realistically, bro, if Gallagher plays, it will be Enzo as the 10
Yeah,
again.
that's what I was going to say. Like, in reality, it will be Enzo as the fucking 10 again, and it will really annoy
All
me.
right, so let's just pretend Gallagher doesn't play 10, okay?
Can we just not predict? Can we just have a good time and predict what actually should probably play?
All right, at least for the front three, tell me what it should be.
Well, I think the front should be Mudryk, Palmer, Madueke, and Jackson. That's what my team would be.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would do the same actually.
I
think
just don't know if
Jackson's
Mudryk. I mean,
Jackson
obviously
has
he
to
was
play 'cause
forced
he's
off
not
early in the
suspended.
last game, but obviously he's had a few injury struggles, so I don't know if he's fit to start again. But just start him anyway, Jeremy.
Like we said, Broyer's not fit enough to play from the start. So
Especially because
I think he
Jackson
said
is
30
not
minutes tops,
suspended
right?
tomorrow, but he is suspended on the weekend. If
Yeah.
Broyer is considered for anything, it's Sunday. The weekend. He won't start
Is there a
right?
chance? Is there a chance we see a potential cameo of Deivid Washington? Maybe not
No.
starting,
way.
but
No,
do you
I think
we see him at
I
all?
think Broyer will come on after he said he can play 20, 25, 30 minutes.
That's
so
true. Yeah, that's very true.
I think Broyer will come on at like 65 minutes probably.
Yeah, I agree with it exactly. It's the
prefer that,
weekend
though.
is going to be interesting. Will it be
You know what?
Sterling up front? Will it be
A
Palmer
genuine-
up front?
I
He
prefer
did
that though.
that. It was like
Bringing players back slowly, you know.
Sterling. I found it interesting. I thought it was almost like testing it for Fulham, because he did put Sterling up front towards the end.
Yeah, for 10
I
minutes.
was like,
So
yeah,
stupid.
but even that, I was like, he's probably going to do that against Fulham now when Broyer can't complete the whole game, because
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not
hopefully
starting
Broyer
David
can do
Washington. He's not even
60
brought him
minutes.
on once. He's not starting him, let's be honest.
Yeah.
No,
If
I
there
mean,
was a game
hopefully-
he'd start him, would be a cup game, but not.
Mm.
Not like this. But yeah, no, I would be in agreement of this. It should be this front four. Now, if it's Maatsen instead of Mudryk, will I cry? No. If it's Sterling instead of Mudryk because Mudryk maybe isn't fit to play again or whatever with whatever his niggles are, fair enough. But I need Palmer to play. I want Palmer to play as the 10 because I don't think he has the pace to be a right winger for the way we play. For City, that might work, but not the way we play, in my opinion. Especially when Disasi's behind him, not fucking Kyle Walker. Big difference.
Yeah. Which is
And
why
I hope
think we
Madueke
see
plays
Gallagher then.
because I'm baffled by his situation.
We could end up seeing something weird, like where you have like Sterling through the middle and then Gallagher on the right or something, and neither Palmer or Madueke play. That would be something that Potts would do.
And Palmer will start, but it's just a question of who else will.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up now, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna wrap it up with the score predictions. If you're still here, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that like button for me. Let's get to at least 100 likes right now. Just one click of a button that doesn't cost you any money or any time, and it really helps me out. But let's finish it off. Pice, I'll start with you. Score prediction. What do you reckon? And be honest.
3-1 Brighton.
Yeah. Faz. Ollie.
2-0 Brighton. I don't think we're scoring tomorrow.
I only said we'll score because Brighton play attacking and we might actually score, but I doubt it.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean they might score an own goal.
We haven't scored in September.
Yeah,
it would almost be like, what's the word? Ironic if the one goal we did score was an own goal. So maybe
Laurenz, we don't have a goal of the month contender if we don't score tomorrow.
We do. They will put an under 21s goal in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean for the men's team, we don't have a goal of the month.
And the women's team, their season hasn't started yet, so we can't use them either.
It was the same as last season. How many months did we have? I swear there was 2 or 3 months under pot where we had the exact same thing.
I swear, March we didn't score in March, or we didn't score in April or something like that.
Was it April? But if it's April, then it was only one game Potter, because wasn't Potter's last game?
No, it was February. That's what it was because we beat Bournemouth in March.
Nah, Bournemouth was in May, bro.
No, we beat Bournemouth in March.
At home or away?
I can't remember.
No, because in February, bro, is when we beat Leeds at home and then beat Dortmund.
Yeah, you're right. There was definitely a month where we
was either March or April, I reckon. One of them two.
I swear we scored. No, maybe I'm wrong.
There you go. My score prediction. Is it straight to penalties again, not extra time, yeah?
Yeah.
There's no way you're predicting a draw.
It just pains my heart to even predict the loss. I know we're losing, but to say a score prediction out loud,
it's difficult as well because we don't know what team Brighton are going to play, and to be fair, that doesn't actually make a difference because they benched João Pedro. They benched 3 or 4 other really good players, and
Mitoma only came on last game, so he started.
And he still scored.
They scored 15 seconds after coming on
before they even brought those players on. So I mean.
Yeah, no, it's very true. It's very true. I'm going to say... No, I have to do it. I'm going to say 1-0, and then we lose on penalties.
Just extra.
That's even worse. There's even worse.
That is even worse. That's worse than losing 3-0. I don't care. That is worse.
Well, maybe, I don't know about 3-0.
That penalty losses, bro. Penalty losses are always the worst.
Especially against Brighton, especially getting Sanchez when we had Kepa, who was only good at saving penalties anyway.
If we lose on penalties to Brighton, my head will be on Jupiter.
Penalty losses cause the most player abuse by far. I've always said this. They just do. If you miss a penalty or the keeper don't save, when Man U had De Gea, bro, they literally the Europa League final, 12 penalties. He didn't save 12 penalties or something. And
then he missed his own one.
And then he missed.
People don't talk about how bad that performance was, that is a Hall of Shame performance from De Gea.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, not a lot of optimism here, but hey, maybe they will start to prove us wrong at some point. But I doubt it will be tomorrow, not against Brighton. Just the way things go for us, the way we are just unlucky, there is no way we beat Brighton tomorrow. It would just, everything that happened between Chelsea and Brighton, there's no way we beat Brighton in my mind. So, yeah. Unfortunately, it's one of those. Ladies and gentlemen, please do check out Pice's website, londonsfirst.com, and his Twitter, as well as, of course, Ollie's Twitter and the podcast at The Bridge Pod. Links are all down in the description below. And like I said already, please do subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, up to numbers, and we'll see you next time.